Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, replaying a moment from years ago, wishing you'd said something different, chosen another path, or simply acted a little braver? You're not alone. We all carry regrets. Some are small, like missing a friend's birthday party, and some cut deeper, like a broken relationship we never mended or a dream we left on the shelf for too long. But here's the beautiful thing about getting older. We gain the gift of perspective. And perspective, my friend, is powerful. It lets us see the past not as a list of mistakes, but as a rich, complex story that shaped who we are today. And when we learn to let go of regret, not forget but let go, we make space for peace, joy, and yes, even late-in-life dreams to flourish. Over the next few minutes, we're going to talk about how to do that. We'll explore what science says about how our brains process regret, real stories of people who've turned their past pain into personal growth, and some surprisingly simple ways to start releasing those what-ifs that weigh us down. Before we keep going, I'd love your help with something. If you're enjoying this video so far, comment Y below. If not, comment N. It helps me know what's working and what to improve. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Now let's dive deeper. Letting go of regret starts with understanding what it really is. Regret is a uniquely human emotion, one tied to our ability to imagine alternatives. When we say, "If only I had," what we're really doing is running a mental simulation. Our brain is trying to create a version of the past that turned out better. According to neuroscientists, the same part of our brain involved in decision-making, the prefrontal cortex, also plays a key role in regret. And ironically, the more reflective and intelligent we are, the more prone we are to ruminate. But here's the twist. While regret can be painful, it also has a purpose. It teaches. It nudges. Sometimes it shouts. But always, it points toward our values, what truly matters to us. A study published in Emotion Journal found that people tend to regret inaction more than action. Not the things they did, but the things they didn't do. That road trip they canceled. The apology they never gave. The book they never wrote. One man I met in his early 70s told me he had carried the regret of not forgiving his brother for over 30 years. A falling out in their 40s had driven a wedge so deep that they spent decades avoiding family gatherings. "I thought I had all the time in the world," he said. "But when he passed, I realized the time I had was already gone." And yet, even in grief, he found healing. He started volunteering with a youth mentorship program, pouring into others what he wished he had shared with his brother: kindness, wisdom, and presence. That's what letting go often looks like. It's not erasing the past, it's finding a new way to honor it. One of the most powerful tools in this process is self-compassion. Now, that might sound soft or even self-indulgent, but the research says otherwise. Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher on self-compassion, found that people who practice being kind to themselves are actually more likely to take responsibility for mistakes and grow from them. They're not stuck in a loop of guilt or shame. They acknowledge the pain, they learn, and they move forward with gentleness. Imagine talking to yourself the way you would a dear friend. Would you call them a failure for making a mistake decades ago? Or would you remind them of how far they've come, of all the good they've done since? That same kindness can transform how you carry your own past. Another helpful strategy is something called regret reappraisal. It's a way of reframing old regrets to see what they've taught you. For instance, maybe a failed business venture left you feeling like you wasted years. But what if those years taught you resilience, resourcefulness, and courage you never would have discovered otherwise? Reframing doesn't deny the hurt, it just invites a fuller picture. Take a moment right now. Think of one regret you've carried. What did it reveal about what you value? What did you learn? Even if it's still painful, can you see how that experience helped shape the wiser, more compassionate person you are today? Sometimes regret lingers because we feel we've lost our chance. But as long as you're breathing, you have opportunities to create new meaning. One woman in her late 60s I spoke with had always regretted not finishing college. "I felt like I quit on myself," she said. But after retiring, she enrolled in evening classes at her local community college. Not because she needed the degree anymore, but because she wanted to reclaim a part of herself she'd left behind. "I'm not too late," she smiled. "I'm just on my own timeline." That's the spirit we need more of, especially as we age. Letting go of regret doesn't mean pretending it never happened. It means loosening the grip it has on your present. It means allowing space for joy, for spontaneity, and for new stories to emerge. In the next part, we'll talk about how regrets can impact our physical health, and what you can do today to lighten that load. We'll also explore how forgiveness, both of others and of ourselves, can actually change our brains and bodies for the better. You won't want to miss this. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. This video is for informational purposes only and is based on publicly available research. Everyone's health is different, so always consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your lifestyle, diet, or exercise routine. Scientific knowledge is always evolving, and what works for one person may not work for another. Now let's continue. We often think of regret as an emotional or mental burden, but it turns out regret can take a toll on the body too. Chronic stress from unresolved regret can actually change how your brain and immune system function. According to a study published in Nature Reviews Neuroscience, persistent negative emotions like guilt and regret can increase inflammation in the body and weaken immune responses. Over time, that kind of stress has been linked to higher risks of heart disease, poor sleep, and even cognitive decline. It's fascinating and a little sobering to realize that what weighs on our minds can quietly affect our health. But the good news? There's something we can do about it. One of the most transformative practices I've seen, especially in people over 60, is forgiveness. Not just forgiving others, but also forgiving yourself. Let me tell you about Tom. Tom is 74 now, and he once told me he carried a deep regret for how he handled his daughter's teenage years. He worked long hours, missed recitals, and often responded with anger when she rebelled. "I thought I was doing what was best," he said, "but I didn't see how much she needed me to just be there." For years, he believed he didn't deserve to be forgiven. But during a quiet moment on a park bench, he still remembers it vividly. He realized something important. Clinging to regret wasn't making things better. It was just keeping him stuck. So he wrote her a letter. Not to explain or justify, but simply to apologize. And she wrote back, saying she'd already forgiven him long ago. She just didn't know how to say it. That single moment of vulnerability changed their relationship. And more than that, it allowed Tom to stop punishing himself. "I feel lighter now," he told me. "Like I've let something go I didn't even realize I was carrying on my shoulders." That's the power of forgiveness. And scientists agree, it's not just a feel-good idea. According to research published in Psychological Science, people who practice forgiveness have lower blood pressure, better sleep, and fewer symptoms of anxiety and depression. It's like a pressure valve for the soul and the body. Now maybe you're thinking, that sounds good, but I don't know how to start. Forgiveness isn't always a single act. Sometimes it's a process layer by layer. A good place to begin is with writing. Try what's called a compassionate letter. You don't have to send it. Just write to yourself as if you were comforting a friend who made the same mistake. Be kind. Be honest. You might be surprised by how healing that one exercise can be. Another powerful tool is mindfulness. You've probably heard the term 100 times by now, but let me tell you, it's more than just a buzzword. Mindfulness simply means noticing the present moment without judgment. When we're stuck in regret, we're usually caught in the past. Mindfulness invites us back to now. And when we return to now, we can start making choices that align with who we want to be, not just who we were. Studies from Harvard and UCLA have shown that mindfulness meditation can actually change the structure of your brain. Areas related to compassion, emotional regulation, and memory can strengthen with just a few weeks of regular practice. That means your brain becomes better equipped to process emotions like regret without getting overwhelmed by them. You don't need to sit cross-legged on the floor or chant anything. Simply sitting quietly for 5 minutes a day, focusing on your breath, can begin to shift how you relate to your thoughts. You might notice a regretful memory rise up. Instead of pushing it away or spiraling into guilt, you just acknowledge it. There's that thought again. And then let it float by like a cloud. It takes practice, but it works. Now, another reason we struggle with letting go is that we often confuse regret with responsibility. Taking responsibility for our past doesn't mean we have to hold on to the pain forever. It just means we acknowledge our choices and then ask, what can I do now? That shift from punishment to purpose is where healing begins. One woman I met named June lost touch with her best friend over a silly misunderstanding. Neither of them reached out. Years passed. June carried that sadness like a quiet ache. But one day she did something unexpected. She wrote a short note and mailed it to her friend's last known address. A week later, she got a phone call. It was her. Tears, laughter, reconnection. All from one small act of courage. Sometimes healing regret is less about grand gestures and more about small, consistent actions. A phone call, a journal entry, a walk through your old neighborhood, a conversation with someone who knew you back then. These aren't just activities, they're medicine for the soul. And if reaching out to someone isn't possible, if they've passed on, or the relationship isn't safe, there are still ways to find closure. Some people light a candle and speak their apology aloud. Others write letters and safely burn them as a symbolic release. Whatever the ritual, it's the intention that matters. To honor the past, express your truth, and let yourself move forward. Letting go of regret doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering differently, with compassion and wisdom. In the next part, we'll explore the deeper mindset shifts that help us truly release the grip of regret. We'll talk about identity, legacy, and how to turn painful memories into meaningful purpose. You'll also hear a few more powerful stories of people who've done exactly that, and how you can too. Stick with me, you're doing something courageous. It's easy to think that by the time we reach a certain age, maybe 60, 70, even 80, the story of who we are is already written. But the truth? Our story is still unfolding. And one of the most powerful chapters we can write now is one where we take back control from regret, not by rewriting the past, but by reframing it. A common challenge I hear from people is the feeling that regret becomes part of their identity. I'm the one who ruined that relationship. I'm the one who never followed through. But those are events, not definitions. You are not your regrets. You are who you've become in spite of them, and sometimes because of them. There's a mindset shift that makes all the difference. Instead of asking, "Why did I mess that up?" try asking, "What did that moment teach me about what matters most to me?" Regret, when approached with curiosity instead of criticism, can actually reveal your core values, like loyalty, courage, honesty, love. And once you know what those are, you can live them even more fully now. Let me share a story that really stuck with me. A gentleman named Harold, now 82, told me about the time he passed up a chance to move to another city for a dream job. He stayed back to take care of family, which was noble, but he always wondered what could have been. That question haunted him for decades. But then something shifted. He started mentoring young professionals through a local business program. "I may not have climbed the corporate ladder myself," he said, "but I helped others do it. And that feels just as good, maybe better." Harold didn't erase the past, he repurposed it. And that's the key. We can't go back and change our decisions, but we can change how those decisions shape the rest of our lives. Now, that doesn't mean the process is easy. One of the hardest parts of letting go is accepting that we'll never get certain moments back. There might be conversations we never had, hugs we never gave, or dreams we didn't chase. But here's something powerful I've learned. Closure doesn't have to come from the other person or the perfect ending. Sometimes closure comes from within. I once spoke with a woman named Elena, in her late 60s, who regretted not spending more time with her father before he passed. She carried that regret like a shadow. But over time, she began writing letters to him in a notebook, telling him stories, sharing her thoughts, asking for forgiveness. "I don't know if he hears me," she said, "but I feel closer to him now than I ever did when he was alive." That's the power of intentional reflection. It helps us process what's unresolved. In fact, studies from the University of Texas suggest that expressive writing, just 15 minutes a day, can significantly reduce emotional distress and improve clarity. It's like giving your mind a place to lay down its burdens. Another tool that can help is something psychologists call post-traumatic growth. It's the idea that even painful experiences can lead to new levels of personal strength, appreciation for life, and deeper relationships. Many older adults report that the regrets they once feared would define them actually became the turning points that gave their lives new meaning. Take Richard, a retired firefighter in his early 70s. He told me he deeply regretted missing many of his children's milestones because of long shifts and unpredictable calls. But instead of drowning in guilt, he decided to make every moment count with his grandchildren. He became the kind of presence he wished he had been when his own kids were young. And guess what? His grown children saw that change, and it brought them closer. There's a quiet magic in allowing yourself to change. It tells the people around you that it's never too late, not just for healing, but for reconnection. This brings us to another key piece of the puzzle: acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean approval. It means recognizing reality without trying to fight it. It's saying, this happened. I wish it hadn't. But I'm still here. And I still have choices. Dr. Tara Brach, a well-known psychologist and meditation teacher, calls this radical acceptance. She describes it as a way of meeting your past with clarity and compassion, acknowledging what is, without pushing it away or letting it consume you. And this kind of acceptance has real health benefits too. People who practice self-acceptance tend to have lower stress levels, better immune function, and even longer lifespans. But what does that look like in practice? Sometimes, it's choosing to stop bringing up that old mistake in conversation. Other times, it's choosing to start something new, an art class, a book club, even a solo trip, simply to remind yourself that life is still offering you new pages to write on. Because it is. You might be surprised how many people, even into their 80s and 90s, discover new passions after making peace with old pain. One woman I know started a podcast at 76, talking about her life and the things she once thought were failures. It's now one of the most listened to storytelling shows in her community. She says, "Every time I share a regret, someone tells me they feel less alone. That's worth everything. That's another reason to share your journey, not just for your own healing, but to help others along the way." Regret thrives in silence. But when we speak honestly, when we connect, we dissolve the shame that often keeps us stuck. And you don't have to do it alone. Sometimes talking to a counselor, joining a support group, or even having heart-to-hearts with close friends can unlock emotional doors that have been closed for years. Vulnerability may feel scary, but it's often the bridge to freedom. As we approach the final part of this journey, we're going to tie everything together. We'll reflect on the major takeaways, look at how you can turn even long-held regrets into sources of strength, and finish with one last inspiring idea to take with you into the days ahead. You're not just letting go of the past, you're making room for your future. You've made it this far, and that says something powerful about you. It means you're ready, maybe more ready than you've ever been, to lay down the weight of regret and pick up something lighter, something more freeing. Let's take a breath and reflect on where we've been. We started with the idea that regret, no matter how old or deeply buried, doesn't have to define us. We looked at how the brain holds on to guilt, how our bodies respond to emotional stress, and how powerful forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, can be. We heard real stories from people who faced their regrets head-on and used them to create new meaning. And we explored tools like writing, mindfulness, acceptance, and reconnection that help us move forward. But now comes the part that matters most. What do you do with all of this? Because the truth is, regret can only lose its grip when we replace it with purpose. And purpose doesn't have to be some grand mission or lifelong goal. It can be small, quiet, and deeply personal. Maybe it's reaching out to someone just to say, "You were important to me." Maybe it's volunteering your time, sharing your wisdom, or telling your story so someone else feels less alone. Maybe it's simply choosing to be kinder to yourself, starting now. And here's something that might surprise you. According to research from the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley, acts of kindness toward others can significantly reduce feelings of personal regret and shame. Why? Because when we do good, we feel good. Our brain releases dopamine and oxytocin, those feel-connected and uplifted chemicals. We stop obsessing over what we didn't do and start focusing on what we can do. There's a quote I love, and maybe it'll speak to you too. "It's never too late to be who you might have been." That's from George Eliot, and it's a reminder that the road ahead is still wide open, no matter your age, no matter your past. I've known people who went back to school in their 70s, others who wrote their first poem or painted their first canvas after 80. One man I spoke with learned how to swim at 79 after regretting never learning as a child. He said, "I thought I'd missed the boat. Turns out, there was still a boat waiting for me." And sometimes the most meaningful change isn't outward at all. It's how you speak to yourself. Instead of "I should have," what if you said, "I did the best I could with what I knew at the time"? Instead of "I wasted so many years," what if you said, "I still have time, and I'm going to make it count"? That simple shift in language is powerful. It's part of something called self-compassion, which Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher in the field, has shown to be one of the most effective tools for emotional resilience. People who treat themselves with kindness during moments of pain or regret tend to bounce back faster, feel less anxiety, and report greater overall well-being. So if you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. Regret may visit you, but it doesn't have to live with you. You have the right to start again. You have the right to move forward. And you have every reason to believe that your best days might still be ahead, because they just might. Letting go is a journey, not a one-time act. Some days, you'll feel that old sadness tug at your heart. That's okay. Acknowledge it. Thank it for the lesson. And then gently remind yourself, I'm choosing to live now. So here's what you can do today, just one small thing. Write down one regret that's been weighing you down. Then, underneath it, write one lesson you've learned from it. And finally, write one small action you can take now to live that lesson forward. It could be a phone call, a walk, a donation, a thank you, a prayer. Don't aim for perfect, just aim for real. Because every time you take a step toward healing, you're not only changing your own life, you're lighting the way for someone else. We'd really love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for future topics or questions you want answered, write to us in the comments below. We're here to help, and your input could inspire our next video. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on more practical tips for healthy aging. Here's to living your best life at any age.